Good morning people, Roadcraft Nottingham here. I've had a few requests on doing a talk about wet weather riding. People are scared of wet, and there's nothing to be scared of. The thing to remember, obviously, is that the roads are going to be wet. Today in particular, if you have a look, it's been raining for quite a long time, so you'll find that the actual road surface won't be quite as bad as if it's only just started raining. That said, you've also got other things on the road to worry about. Road furniture, as I call it. You've got manhole covers, you've got white lines. There's a manhole cover there, look. Whatever you call it in other countries. But the most important thing to remember about manhole covers is one I'm just going to go over on purpose here now. Bump bump, no problem. The only times manhole covers become a problem is if you're braking heavily, accelerating heavily, or going round a bend, banking over at any kind of angle. A very quick talk about skidding. People say what causes a skid, and they'll say snow or gravel causes a skid. What actually causes a skid is doing something excessive for the conditions. So, snow itself or sheet ice doesn't actually cause a skid. Braking too heavily, accelerating too heavily, or leaning too much will actually cause the skid. So let's talk about rule number one then in wet weather. Forward planning and reading the road. Again, I'm going over white lines here, not a problem. I'm looking at road surfaces, I'm looking at the manhole covers and things. And number two is acceleration. Listen to my throttle. It's just pulling smoothly, and as I come out of the bend I'm just starting to roll this throttle on nice and smoothly. If you do something sudden when the road's wet, it's more likely to make your back wheel break away under acceleration, or either of your wheels skid or lock up under braking. Speaking of braking, your braking distance will be extended, of course. We usually allow twice the stopping distance in the wet. Also bearing in mind a lot of motorcycles haven't got ABS and cars have. Also, if you look here, there's a little bit of a flood on the road. If you go too fast for the conditions, your bike will actually lift itself up on top of the water, just like skimming a stone across a lake or something. The term for this is actually called aquaplaning. If the road looks extra shiny, you need to just ease down a little bit. It might just be a smooth road surface, but there's also a possibility that you've got standing water. And if you go too fast over it, that water is going to force itself underneath your tyre and effectively lift your bike off the road. Something else to be aware of is looking in your mirrors and being aware of vehicles behind you. A lot of cars will follow you too closely in the wet. And the reason they do this is because for the last 20 years or so, they've been following cars closely and never had an accident. They therefore conclude that driving closely won't cause an accident. The problem with this is it only takes one time for it to cause an accident, and unfortunately there's only one person that's going to learn by this. So what I tend to do is I watch the vehicles behind me and allow for the speed that they're driving, allow for them riding too closely, and I also extend my braking distance accordingly. Braking, 50-50 on the brakes. I'm just using even front and back brake pressure, and my speed's coming down to 20 miles an hour now, and I'm completely letting go of my front brake, and I'm just dragging off with my back brake only, and at the very end I'm just feathering off a little bit and coming to a smooth stop, as opposed to doing this. And even doing that, I pressed hard on my brake, my foot has just slipped off the back brake pedal, so that's something else you need to be aware of. Certain types of boots don't like water, and also if you've got a worn brake pedal rubber or just a metal brake pedal, your foot could easily slip off it. Staying out of the lorry's blind spot here, allowing him to go around the corner. Okay. steady throttle now, holding it nice and smooth. Relax as well, this is rule number 3. Relax your handlebars, the bike has got to move. Your bars will naturally, if you see this, naturally follow the undulations in the road. And when people say that their bikes aren't handling in the wet, the chances are that they are handling. It's just that they're tensing up so much, you can see the bike there, it's really sharp and tight. It doesn't like it. The bottom line is if for any reason the bike's going to break away, you tensing up on the handlebars isn't going to do anything. Okay, nice road surface here. This is called shell grip or shore grip. They usually put this surface on the approach to traffic lights, roundabouts, pedestrian crossings, so that people, if they do brake late, will get a better chance of stopping without skidding. Look at that car following that bike closely there, look, in the wet. So if that bike happened to come off on that bend, that car's just going to go straight over him. Watching my distance from the lorry. Okay, so what I'm looking for here, there's some white lines here. Personally, I've never seen anybody come off on just a road sign. But it's not saying it won't happen, it's just people get really, really scared about them. Okay, I'm just going to ease off a little bit. Back brake only, and feather off to the end. Okay, there's no harm in accelerating smoothly away, because if you do so, if anything's going to break away, it'll be your back wheel under acceleration. And if you accelerate very, very smoothly, the chances are you'll get a warning twitch from the bike, which means you can ever so slightly start closing your throttle off again. The main reason people high-side bikes is because they don't recognise that the bike is starting to give a skid. Or it does skid, but they've put the accelerator on that heavily that it's too late to do anything anyway. Another nice road surface here. I'm just staying offset to this van so I can see his mirror. Using my mirrors, a little bit too close to look over my shoulder, plus I don't need to at the moment. I can see in my blind spot there's a little car there. Arrow's telling me to move in, so I am going to do a little lifesaver. Something else to allow for as well on your following distances, even though at the moment I'm a little bit close to this van for the conditions, I'm also looking at the vehicle in front. So the chances are that I will know that this van is going to be braking before he knows he's going to brake. They usually wait until they see brake lights coming on. I usually look ahead to see if there's a pedestrian crossing changing to red, or if there's a car braking 3 or 4 in front of him that'll cause a chain reaction making him brake eventually. So I'm already starting to close my throttle off. So at this roundabout here, the famous roundabout where the Mini cut me up, in the left lane, holding my throttle steady, just relaxing on the bars, holding the throttle to take myself around the bend and gently laying the power down as I come out. Little lifesaver here because of the arrows. Make sure nobody's cutting me up. Now I am getting a little bit close there, so I'm just going to ease my throttle off a bit. I also try and play myself a little game about not using the brakes. There's blues and twos, just moving a little bit here, but that's not a problem. I try to use acceleration sense. That's the ability of the rider to control his machine speed with accurate use of the throttle, rather than just banging the throttle on, slamming the throttle off. I start thinking ahead and easing my throttle off just a little bit earlier. You'll hear me touch on this on my gear changing lesson. So now I'm just using acceleration sense, now 50-50 on the brakes, and just staying to the right of this little white line arrow. The chances are I'm not going to skid on it, but I'm not taking the chance, so it's not a problem. Whilst I'm waiting at traffic lights, at the moment I can see nice road surface going to a bit of a bumpy road surface to a normal road surface, and then there's a possibility there, with the shininess of the road, there might be a bit of diesel or something on there. I can't smell anything, so let's have a look when we go round and see what it is, or if it's just a change in road surface. It might just be tyre tracks caused by the cars. So I don't just sit at traffic lights and daydream, I'm always making plans. Let's have a look at this surface here, look. No, that's just a road surface, it's okay. But there's no harm in thinking the worst. Anything else after that is a bonus. Okay, right turn. And again, zigzag lines, white lines on the road, but again you can see the lines are quite warm, so they're not going to be a major problem. But this is, see the puddle just there? Holding the throttle steady, just going onto the inside of the white line, building my acceleration so I can feel the grip of my back tyre. This road surface is a little bit shiny, which means it's a smoother, relatively new road surface, but again it's pretty nice, look. There's no wet leaves on it, there's no manhole covers, there's no diesel. So the odds are on, if I need to brake on this surface, it's going to be pretty good. Just try to make sure when you do brake, you're sat upright and travelling in a straight line. I actually enjoy riding in the wet, it hones my skills. It keeps me a little bit more alert. Okay, looking in the mirror, there's what looks like a Fiesta or a small car. It's a safe distance behind me, so that's not a problem at the moment. I do find though, if cars do get dangerously close to me, I just tap my brake lights a couple of times, just in case it makes them think, oh yeah, I am close. And if after that they still stay close, I'll indicate moving, I'll just let them go. It's not worth it. So I suppose the main rules for riding in the wet: number one, plan and check your road surface, even more so. Things that aren't a hazard normally can become a hazard when wet. 2, acceleration sense. Vary your throttle very, very slightly, very smoothly, and very, very delicate movements. Number 3, don't be afraid of accelerating out of a bend. As long as you accelerate very slowly and very smoothly, you'll be able to feel any reactions that the bike makes on the road. Number 4, relax. As your bike takes itself round a roundabout, if you tense up, you will feel the bike trying to fight you, because the bars naturally need to move to follow the road surface. Number 5, allow for following vehicles. As well as riding for yourself, you also need to ride for other people and allow for their mistakes and their inability to allow for wet road surfaces. 6, practice. If you find that there's any particular part of your riding that's weak, then practice it, strengthen that part of it up. And once you've actually got that down to pat and you're okay, then other areas of your riding will start to show, and you can practice on that as well. The bottom line is be safe, think ahead, allow for others, relax and enjoy. I hope this has been helpful to you. Please feel free to subscribe, make any comments you want to, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye bye.